We believe that the dollars that are put into frontier markets, for those dollars, you need at least a 5-year horizon.
Yes, absolutely.
If not more.
No, I mean, you're quite right, because again, these are volatile and illiquid markets, and during the financial crisis, for example, frontier markets went down even more than developed or emerging markets, although interestingly they haven't recovered as far as emerging or developed markets, which is one of the reasons they look attractive. They're fairly cheap. But if you're not prepared to put it in for at least 5 years, quite frankly, you shouldn't be here, because that's going to be a full market cycle, and it will take that long for all of these excellent fundamentals like the demographics and the move from the country to the cities to actually start to show beneficial effects.
So 5 years is pretty much the minimum to be on the safe side.
To be on the safe side.
Right.
The other point I should make also, of course, Al, is that during that 5 years, the composition of the frontier markets index is going to change substantially. We've mentioned the fact that, for example, Qatar and the United Arab Emirates, which are almost 30% of the index at the moment, have been moved by MSCI to the emerging market category starting May 2014. Undoubtedly, within 5 years, a number of other frontier markets which may have very small stock markets at the moment, or may not even have a stock market, like, for example, Myanmar, Burma as was, will be part of the frontier market index, and its composition will have changed dramatically to reflect that. Therefore, you need that length of time to enable some of the markets which probably have the greatest potential, that don't have very big stock markets at the moment, to start to mature.
The indices have a tremendous influence in decision making in this area, as witnessed in during the worst of the European crisis. MSCI downgraded Greece, and we've been talking about the upgrading of certain countries. Can you give us a fairly simple explanation of how these indices work?
Well, Al, it's perfectly straightforward. You take all of the companies within one country and you add them up together, and so the company that's worth the most has the biggest weight in the index, the company that's worth the least has the smallest weight, and you'll have a cut-off. So, for example, you'll have 500 stocks in the Standard & Poor's 500 index, and they'll be the 500 largest stocks by market capitalization. The same thing is true for global market indices. You take all the countries, you put them together, and the country which has the biggest stock market, which at the moment in the frontier market index is Kuwait, with almost 30% of the index being in that one country, is the largest, and the ones that are the smallest, which are included within the index, may only be worth 1% or 2%. But in essence, it's all down to how big your stock market is, how big your company is within the stock market, and that's what goes to make up the index.